It was supposed to be one of the happiest nights of my life. Our 10th wedding anniversary, 10 whole years spent together, should have been a celebration of everything we had built and accomplished. But as I sat across from James in our favorite restaurant, I could feel a knot tightening in my stomach. This wasn't how I had imagined it. The relationship that once felt like a fairy tale now seemed more like a distant memory. James and I had met when we were young, starry-eyed, and full of dreams. We were the couple everyone envied, inseparable, passionate, and in love. We thought we were untouchable, that nothing could break the bond we shared. But like most relationships, the reality of life slowly started to creep in. The spontaneity we once thrived on became replaced with routine, and the late-night talks were substituted by early morning silences. We weren't exactly unhappy, but we weren't truly happy either. We had become strangers living under the same roof. For months I had been reflecting on this, questioning if we had lost our spark, if the connection we once had was really gone. Despite trying everything to rekindle the magic, talking more, spending quality time together, even planning little surprises, nothing seemed to bring us back. We hadn't been intimate in months, and when we did talk, it felt more like business than a conversation between two people who were supposed to be in love. Then, one night, as I was lying in bed, an idea crept into my mind, one that both thrilled and terrified me at the same time. What if we opened our marriage? I had read about it in articles and heard stories of couples who found new ways to reconnect by exploring non-monogamy. I wasn't interested in an affair or anything deceitful, but perhaps allowing each other the freedom to meet other people would help us rediscover the love we had lost. Maybe it could reignite the spark we so desperately needed. It seemed radical, even dangerous, but I couldn't shake the thought. After all, our marriage had already been stagnating for so long. What did I have to lose? Wasn't the risk worth the possibility of reigniting the passion we had once shared? So, I decided to bring it up to James on our anniversary. A little nervous but hopeful, I thought this might be the perfect opportunity for an honest conversation. As we clinked our glasses to celebrate 10 years together, I took a deep breath, my heart racing, and I said, "James, I've been thinking a lot about us. About our marriage. What if we opened things up? Maybe seeing other people could help us reconnect, help us reignite what we've lost." He froze mid-bite, his fork suspended in the air. His expression shifted quickly from curiosity to confusion, and I could see a flicker of something darker in his eyes. "What do you mean, open things up?" he asked, his voice tense, almost defensive. "I don't mean an affair or anything like that," I quickly reassured him. "Just the idea of us being free to explore new connections with others together. I thought it could help us grow, maybe even with some boundaries in place." There was a long silence, the noise of the restaurant fading away around us as I waited for his response. He sat there, staring at me, as if he was processing my words. For a long moment, he didn't speak, and my heart pounded in my chest. Would he agree? Would he think I was crazy? Finally, he exhaled deeply and said, "You really want this?" I nodded, feeling a mix of fear and hope. "I do," I said quietly. "I think we've been stuck in this rut for so long, and maybe this is the only way we can get out of it. We could still be together, but we could explore other things too. Maybe it will bring us closer." He studied me intently for what felt like forever. My palms were clammy, but I stayed still, my breath shallow as I awaited his answer. To my surprise, he agreed, but there was a catch. He wanted to discuss boundaries first. "We'll take it slow," he said, his voice calm but firm. "And I want to make sure you're okay with everything." Relieved, I nodded, thinking this could really be the change we needed. We spent the rest of the evening hashing out the details. It felt like a reasonable plan. Clear communication, agreed-upon boundaries, and an understanding that we would stop if it didn't work out. I felt excited, thinking this might be the key to restoring what we had lost. But I was wrong. Over the next few weeks, something didn't feel right. James wasn't the same. He seemed more distant, more preoccupied, as if something was weighing on him. I had expected him to ease into the idea of meeting other people, but instead, he seemed resistant. He would make excuses, claiming he was too busy or not interested in pursuing anything outside our marriage. And I started to wonder, was there something more to this? Was he just avoiding it, or was there something else going on? So I threw myself into meeting new people. I wasn't looking for anything serious, just an adventure, an opportunity to feel desired again. Yet every time I came home after being with someone else, I felt emptier. I kept thinking that maybe James would open up, maybe he'd warm up to the idea. But he didn't. In fact, he became colder with each passing day. When he did talk to me, it felt like we were strangers. It was like the distance between us was growing with every conversation, and I didn't know how to stop it. Then, one night, everything changed. I had gone out on what was supposed to be a casual date. I came home earlier than expected, and as I walked into the house, I noticed James sitting in the kitchen. The lights were dim, and there was an unsettling silence in the air. He didn't look up when I entered, and something about the stillness felt off. "James?" I called out softly, my voice cutting through the silence. He didn't respond right away. When he finally lifted his head, I saw it, the coldness in his eyes. It wasn't the man I had married. It was someone else, someone I didn't know. "Sit down," he said, his tone sharp, commanding. I could feel the dread building in my chest, but I sat down across from him, my heart racing. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "You know," he began, his voice quiet but laced with an edge, "when you suggested opening our marriage, I wasn't sure what to think, but I agreed because I thought maybe we could both get something out of it. I thought maybe we needed something different." My stomach turned. This wasn't going the way I expected. He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "But what I didn't tell you was that I've been seeing someone else too, for months now, and it's not just some fling. I've been seeing her for a while." My world shattered. "What?" I whispered, barely able to breathe. "How long?" "Since you first brought up the idea," he said coldly. "I wanted to see how it would feel. You know, to be free, to feel like I could do whatever I wanted without you judging me. You opened the door and I walked right through it." My hands shook. I couldn't process his words. He had been seeing someone behind my back this entire time, while I had been cautiously exploring, trying to make sense of the open marriage we had agreed upon. He had been playing me. James leaned forward, his voice darker now. "But I didn't just open things up for myself," he said, his smirk unsettling. "I wanted to make sure you understood the consequences of your little experiment." My breath caught in my throat. "What do you mean?" I asked, though I already had a sinking feeling in my gut. "I watched you," he said, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "I watched you struggle with jealousy. I watched you second-guess yourself when you came home late. It was delicious. I wanted you to feel what I felt, the powerlessness, the guilt, the shame. It was all part of my plan." I couldn't breathe. My entire body was shaking. He hadn't just agreed to the open marriage out of mutual curiosity or respect. He had done it to manipulate me, to punish me, and to watch me suffer. Tears welled in my eyes, but I couldn't even cry. The trust, the foundation of our marriage, was gone. All that was left were lies and betrayal. "Why, James? Why would you do this?" I asked, my voice breaking. He stood up, his face emotionless. "Because I knew you wouldn't understand. You wanted freedom, and now you've got it. Enjoy the consequences." And with that, he walked out of the room, leaving me utterly shattered. In the days that followed, I was numb. I couldn't comprehend how the man I loved and trusted had done this to me. The open marriage that I had hoped would save us had destroyed everything. He had manipulated me, played on my vulnerabilities, and made me feel like I was the one in the wrong. I had been so blind, so desperate for a change, that I didn't see what was really happening. Eventually, we parted ways. I filed for divorce, but the emotional scars would take much longer to heal. That day was forever unforgettable for me.